Good evening. Two brush fires are burning in Ventura and LA counties tonight, forcing evacuations and igniting concern as winds continue to pick up. These fires are burning to the west and to the northeast of a community still reeling from last night's mass shooting that left 12 people dead. We have team coverage on the two fires, and my colleague Pat Harvey is live in Thousand Oaks covering the tragedy of a dozen lives lost. But we begin tonight with CBS 2's Stu Mundell. He's live over the Woolsey Fire near Bell Canyon with the latest. Stu.
This Woolsey Fire is really taking off at night. A lot of times these fires will actually lay down at night, giving the firefighters the opportunity to get ahead of them and start to get a handle on them. This one, totally different. The high winds, the extremely difficult terrain has really created an explosive situation for the firefighters out here. LA County Fire, LA City Fire, all out here right now along with Ventura Fire battling these flames. Now this is happening in the Woolsey Canyon area. Kind of hard to really explain exactly where it is. A lot of people don't know. It is south of Simi Valley. So that's going to be Simi Valley right over there. And then to the even more south is going to be, to the north is Simi Valley. And then to the south is actually going to be the Calabasas area. And down in there is actually Oak Park. Oak Park is basically the area where this fire is heading towards right now tonight. We understand that the Sheriff's Department out there in the Westlake area doing some mandatory evacuations along the 101 near Lindoro Canyon. Now on this side of the fire, on the most eastern side of the fire, there is a small community of very expensive homes called Bell Canyon. And the firefighters out here have been battling flames that have been running up to these homes all evening long. Now there's 20 homes out here under mandatory evacuations. So far we have not seen any of these structures damaged or on fire, but you can see what the firefighters are dealing with down there as flames work their way right up to these homes. Right now this fire is 0% containment. 2,000 acres is what they said, but the number's still growing even as we're speaking. Helicopters still dropping water and dozers on the ground. Live in Sky 2 over the Chatsworth area. Stu Mundell, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Stu. Now, this Woolsey Fire in the foothills above Chatsworth broke out minutes after the Hill Fire. It's being driven by fierce Santa Ana winds tonight. Evacuations have been ordered in Bell Canyon, parts of Hidden Hills, Calabasas, Agoura Hills, and as Stu mentioned, Oak Park. CBS 2's Lori Perez is live in Agoura Hills with the latest on this fire. Lori.
Yes, Stu really set the scene really well to describe what it is that these people are trying to get away from. Take a look at this massive line of cars. This is a mass exodus of people who are leaving the Agoura Hills and Oak Park area. We've been talking to homeowners, drivers rather, safely through the windows as this traffic has been moving by pretty slowly. We spoke with a woman who told us that about an hour ago they heard that the voluntary evacuations were very likely going to be made mandatory, and she wasn't going to wait. So she packed up her car and her children, and they were getting out, as so many of these people are, as they watch the glow of the fire approaching their neighborhoods ever closer. Again, this fire, the Woolsey Fire, broke out about 2:25 p.m. and just about an hour ago it had burned about 2,000 acres. There were no reported injuries or to civilians or firefighters, but residents have been telling us there is just a mass of fire trucks. About an hour ago, we saw 30 fire trucks pass by us, headed up the hill as all these people were leaving in the other direction. Certainly a good sign that they are going to be staging up there, trying to protect structures and homes. But again, these people here, again, this has been a dramatic day in this area. A lot of people still reeling from the shooting, and now to have this concern, it's a lot to handle. We did speak with a gentleman. We spoke with a homeowner, rather, who was part of a mandatory evacuation. She told us about getting prepared to leave. We also spoke with a homeowner, horse owner, rather, at a gas station. He told us he was trying to leave to move 15 horses. And, he just felt surrounded on all sides by these two fires. A lot to handle here tonight. Back to you in the studio.
All of those people behind you leaving their homes, not knowing what they're going to come back to. Thank you, Lori. Another dangerous fire threatening Camarillo Springs tonight. 1,200 homes evacuated there. The 101, a big section of it, shut down between Thousand Oaks and Camarillo. This fire could burn all the way to the Pacific Ocean by morning. And anxious homeowners in parts of Camarillo, they're waiting for the word to get out. CBS 2's Jeff Nguyen live in Camarillo with a look at how they're preparing for the worst. Jeff.
Well, Jeff, things have been shifting here minute by minute. Let me step aside and give you a good look at it. You can see the flames here on fire. This is near Leisure Village. It is a community in Camarillo, and tonight the fire department tells us that hundreds of firefighters are on scene. They have 6 helicopters at the ready, although we have not seen any in the air in this area after the sun went down. Now, the winds here have been erratic earlier. We spoke to a couple of dads. One of them is a local teacher. Both coach sports programs, and they tell us that practices in the area had been canceled earlier this evening because of this fire.
It started basically to the left there where those first set, where you can see the flames, and it's just continued to grow in the last couple hours to what you see now.
You got the vegetation. There's a couple of farms out that direction and things like that. Barron Brothers is over there, and so it's pushing this direction, and then there's a little culvert in the back here, and hopefully that'll be a good fire break.
We had a practice scheduled for tonight, but that was canceled from the smoke. All the school districts, Pleasant Valley School District, Oxnard Union, have all canceled their classes for tomorrow. All the activities, as far as I know, have been shut down as well.
And people in this community tell us that the hills that are backlighting this set of homes here have not burned in decades. There is a retirement community nearby. So far, no evacuation alerts in this part of Ventura County, and right now there are no reports of injuries at all. But on top of that, we should tell you that the cause of this fire is still under investigation tonight. We are live in Camarillo. Jeff Nguyen, CBS2 News.
All right, Jeff, and CBS 2's Chris Holmstrom is live in another part of Camarillo where residents there are equally nervous watching the same flames.
Yeah, Jeff, it's just one thing after the other here in Ventura County. And I want to give you a different vantage point so you could see the hill fire burning right here. Now, at this point, it has burned more than 5,000 to 7,000 acres. You can see it's burning pretty good here in Camarillo. Now, as we mentioned, about 1,200 homes have been evacuated. But the biggest challenge for crews is the Santa Ana winds. Now, we're also learning this wind event is just getting started. As for resources, there are about 400 to 500 firefighters out here, but I've learned there are more firefighters on the way. As for structure damage, at this point, no structures have been damaged. That includes residential or commercial, but we've learned there are some RVs that caught fire. Again, winds in this area are 20 to 25 miles per hour, and it's expected to increase as the days go on. But out here live, the hill fire at this point has burned 5,000 to 7,000 acres, and at this point, it's also 0% contained. Jeff, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Chris, thank you very much. And now to the story that has captured the nation's attention since late last night. The mass shooting at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. And my co-anchor and colleague, Pat Harvey, is live in Thousand Oaks, where she begins our team coverage on that. Pat.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Yes, I am on Moore Park Road. In fact, the Borderline Bar and Grill is right behind me. As you can see, the lights are still on in the parking lot, and we assume that there is a lot of activity still going on inside. There are cars parked in the lot, so outside from the law enforcement vehicles, we are told that those are cars presumably that belong to the victims who have not come back to get them, and unfortunately those who may not retrieve them. As you know, that many of those victims were young people. They were from college. A lot of them were college students or recent graduates. Many of them had children. In fact, one of those who died was a bouncer, and another was a veteran sheriff sergeant. We can't say his name enough, Sergeant Ron Hellis. He had 29 years with the department and was set to retire soon, but he gave his life in the line of duty. He was the first one through the door when he answered the call that shots were fired at around 11:20. Each of the victims, again, they leave behind family members, friends, parents, brothers, sisters, and yes, some children. And tonight the community came out to show their support, and they came out in force. Our Rachel Kim is live at a vigil in one such community. Rachel?
Yeah, Pat, the sadness here at the Civic Center tonight was tangible. Everyone has gone home, but take a look at what some left behind. A circle of candles filled with a lot of flowers and an American flag standing, still waving, Thousand Oaks strong.
Amazing grace.
As Amazing Grace filled the Cavalier Theater, everyone held up candles to honor those lost in the Thousand Oaks mass shooting. Mayor Rob McCoy led the vigil. Sheriff Jeff Dean got a standing ovation, and various religious leaders came up to speak to comfort those who were inside and outside. We spoke with some of those who attended, including Mariah Piasecki. She said two of her best friends died in this shooting, Blake Dingman and Jake Dunham. Mariah said she was supposed to go out with them last night. She told us a little bit about them.
Jake, always a crazy one. You had a bad idea and everyone wasn't for it. He'd be the one person for it, and he would tell you just to do it. Same with Blake. They were both the crazy ones out of the group. Always go in the desert together, sitting by fires, just talking about everything. Those were honestly the best two people I've ever met.
What do they mean to you, Mariah?
Everything.
We also spoke with Josh Kelly. He's the head DJ at the Borderline Bar and Grill. He wasn't working last night, but he spoke about his friend Justin Meek, who was one of the victims killed. Justin was the head promoter and security guard at the bar. He just graduated CLU.
He was one of the best I've ever met. The kid, he would take a bullet for you. Yeah, that's who he was. He was only going to be there a couple more months. He had a short gig at Disney, and then he was going off in the Coast Guard. So he had his life ahead of him right around the corner. And he's not with us anymore because he was protecting our brothers and sisters.
Definitely a hero. The mayor estimates around 2,000 people were here tonight at this vigil. He hopes this is the first step in healing for this community. Pat, back to you.
All right, thank you for that, Rachel. And yes, while there are vigils being held to promote healing and to support the victims and their families, there is an intense investigation into last night's shooting. Local police, FBI, ATF, they are all involved. And our Tom Wade is going to pick up that part of this story. He's live outside the Borderline Bar and Grill. Tom?
Well, Pat, as you said earlier, a number of FBI agents, police officers, and sheriff's deputies are still here on the scene just outside of the Borderline nightclub. Just about 24 hours ago, we arrived here on the scene. It was such a frenzied atmosphere. Tonight, an eerie silence. We have to warn you, though, some of the video we're going to show you is very tough to watch. Cell phone video captured the sounds of a madman shooting into a defenseless crowd inside the Borderline Bar and Grill. Seconds later, the reality of what's going on sets in.
Guys, run! Go! He's coming out this door!
Panic and pandemonium as dozens of shots rang out.
The subject was at the front shooting at everybody. He's still inside the bar.
And the gunman wouldn't stop shooting.
We were just dancing on the floor. We heard a couple shots. I told, her to get down, all my friends to get down. We went in behind we stayed behind the stage, got out, went through the kitchen.
The shooting was on that side, so then our friends got the bar stools and they started slamming it against the window so we could get out.
CHP officers and Ventura County Sheriff Sergeant Ron Hellis would race to the scene. Sergeant Hellis came face to face with the shooter.
Officer down, sound 3 down and unresponsive.
Sergeant Hillis died at the... The sergeant passed away at the hospital.
Reset! Arms!
The sergeant received a hero's farewell as his body was taken by procession to the coroner's office. As for the suspect, he's a former Marine with a troubled past. He was known to police. No one can comprehend a motive or how to process what happened.
I've lived here all my life, and to think that, I've never experienced it. I've just never experienced it.
And another incredibly disturbing element to all of this is that some of the victims who were here in the Borderline last night were also at the Route 91 massacre in Las Vegas 1 year ago. Reporting live in Thousand Oaks, I'm Tom Waite. Pat, back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Tom. And yes, the connection is certainly really inconceivable and incomprehensible when you really put those two things together. That yes, many of the victims or many of the people that attended the college night last night also attended the Country Music Festival in Las Vegas. Now, as we mentioned, we talked about it being college night. Many of the victims were young. They were just beginning to start their lives. We talked to a father of one of the victims, Cody Kaufman, and he told us through tears how sad and how difficult this was for him. His young son just celebrated his 22nd birthday, and he was about to join the military.
And we did just get the news that he was one of the 11 that were hit and killed last night. His name was Cody Kaufman, my firstborn son. Only him and I know how much I love, how much I miss. Oh God, this is so hard. Oh son, I love you so much. Oh Heavenly Father, just please be with him.
So heartbreaking. And another victim, Shawn Adler, worked as a bouncer at the Borderline Bar and Grill. He also recently opened a coffee shop in Simi Valley where he lived. And CBS 2's Leslie Marine is live outside his store where loved ones are remembering him tonight. Leslie.
Pat, we're talking about hundreds of people. Imagine having that much of an impact on your community. But tonight, what's left in front of this coffee shop are those dozens of flowers, there's candles, and that large photo of Shawn Adler, who was a bouncer at the Border Bar and Grill when he was killed. Today, family remembering him as a father, as well as a husband, and an all-around dynamic guy.
He was just really passionate about his business, his life, his kids.
Those are just a few ways friends and family will remember Shawn Adler. But to get a full picture of who Shawn really was, you'll have to look at how many lives he impacted.
And you see all these people out here, these are all the people that he has done good for.
Nearly 200 people gathering around this coffee shop in Simi Valley. Shawn opening it up just 3 months ago, specializing in exotic roasts.
He seemed like a dynamic individual.
Shawn did do it all. He was a strength conditioning coach at a local high school, loved martial arts, and spent years as a bouncer at Borderline Bar and Grill. But at home, he was a husband and father to 2 boys, just 10 and 16 years old.
I'm numb right now, but we've done so much to help, to do things, and Shawn's done so much to help this community.
And last night, he did his final good deed. Stories now coming out about Shawn and how he tried to protect the people inside the bar as gunshots were firing off.
From what we hear, he engaged him first, and I know Shawn, he tried his best.
And Shawn's mother and sister are expected to be out here tomorrow night. There will be another vigil held right outside this coffee shop at 8 p.m. here in Simi Valley. Reporting live from Simi Valley, Leslie Marine. Pat, back to you.
All right, thank you for that report, Leslie. And Jeff, I'm going to toss it back to the studio now. We'll see you a bit later.
All right, Pat, and we will see you a bit later. We now are going to return to the breaking news, these burning bookends to Thousand Oaks, where Pat is. Bell Canyon, where the Woolsey Fire continues to burn. Stu Mundell, overhead in Sky 2. Stu.
Well, they actually made our way over to Oak Park right now, and it's very difficult to see because this is the area where the smoke is actually blowing down towards us, but with that smoke is fire. You can see a fire truck right there, and you can see homes right also very, very close by. Now, these flames have been working their way towards this neighborhood for a good couple of minutes now, getting very, very close, and we've been watching as the vehicle is basically just pouring out of this area under mandatory evacuation. Now you can actually see some of those homes that are there. We haven't seen any house in particular or apartment in particular go up in flames yet, but you can see how close these flames are actually getting to some of these homes out here. Originally, we got out here and we were looking at the Deerbrook Road area, and we were watching as the flames were getting so close, but they slowed down. Right here is another area. I believe that this actually also part of the Deerbrook Road circle, and you can see through that smoke down there, every now and then you can see the actual outlines of all these homes up against the hillside, the fire trucks down there doing structure protection, and those huge flames right behind them. Now, none of these firefighters had to
Oh, we just lost Stu's audio. We will get that back for you. But Stu showed you the picture. Garth has information on the winds behind it. Garth.
Yeah, it's going to pick up more this evening as well. The hill fire, as a matter of fact, by morning could be burning all the way out towards PCH as these winds are going to increase tonight. 60 degrees right now. Downtown behaving, 83% humidity there, but we are bone dry. We're also warmer because the winds have stirred the atmosphere up for us than we were 24 hours ago. But look at the humidity here. 4% over towards Camarillo. We're getting around 5 to 6% out by those fires. We're talking both over to the Chatsworth area and then down towards Newberry Park as well. So we're going to stay single digits. We'll come up a little bit as we go through the evening hours, but not much. Winds are starting to increase a little bit. Gusts are now up to 32 miles an hour. East winds sustained at 13 miles an hour. That relative humidity is on the ocean side of Newberry Park. So over by the 101 and that entire area right there and by the Caneo Grade, it's still down in the single digits for us right now. We have red flag warnings that continue through tomorrow through the entire area. The problem, the high wind warnings are into effect at least through tomorrow evening. That does include the Santa Monica mountain range. The rest of LA is under wind advisories. Look at the offshore push, though. By tomorrow morning, still 50 miles an hour offshore, 50 Northridge, 53 Santa Clarita as it cruises out in towards the Caneo area and out towards the Newberry Park area. We'll stay strong through the first part of the morning hours tomorrow. By the afternoon, we'll start to cut it in half, ease off on these gusts a little bit, but it will still be there. So tonight through early tomorrow, the strongest winds will continue. We'll turn everything around on Saturday and go back on shore briefly before we start to go back offshore again Sunday. Another event, but I don't think it'll be quite as strong. Take a look at the temperatures, a quick look at those red flag warnings. Be careful, you can't park in streets up in the Santa Monica mountain range. Be vigilant, please. If you are evacuating, make sure you take your animals with you. Please take your pets with you as well. There are evacuation centers, I hear, for big animals, horses, out into the Moore Park area as well. Be vigilant, everybody. Hang in there. It's going to be a rough night tonight. Jeff?
Garth, thanks very much. All right, just ahead, we are continuing to watch these two fires burning in Ventura County and northwest LA County, forcing evacuations. Also, we'll tell you how the sports department plays into our coverage of this fire when we come back.